Welcome to episode 10 of the Same 60 Pokemon podcast. I'm Jeffrey, JGB 146 Blake.
And I'm Nate, Sky Circus TCG.
And I'm Connor, also known as an average card game player.
And today, we're going to talk about some stuff. All right, so first, we're going to go through, talk a little bit about things that we did this weekend. Then we're going to talk about things that happened in Portland this weekend. Then we're going to talk about some cards that came out this weekend / this week. And then we're going to have some fun with Same 60 Funtime. Now, before we get into all that, I am going to just say, if you're out there watching this and you're not subscribed to the podcast on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. It does a whole lot to help us out, and you can ignore it. We don't, you don't have to activate notifications if you don't want to. If you do, if you love hearing from us, that's great too. But subscriptions are key to us being able to keep doing what we're doing and to expand it and make it better. So please help us out. And now let's get into it. So on a local level, we had some challenges, some league challenges last weekend. We had one I held one at the store that I operate. No, I don't operate the store, but I operate the league there. That's Oinker's Island over in Broken Arrow. Nate wasn't there because he had to work elsewhere, but Connor was. How'd that go, Connor?
Excruciatingly painful for me. Round one, Guardy, usually an easy matchup with the deck I had. I was running Lost Box Charizard.
Charizard, yes.
So we're getting down to the final turn. Had almost every card I needed in hand except for Charizard. There was two of them in the deck. I didn't hit it. He had the gas. That was it. That went round one. Round two, I went up against Mewtwo Xatu, the deck from the Elite Trader Box booklet.
Okay.
And I beat that, which was an interesting way to see it. Because the engine works, it's just not stable enough.
Sure.
And then round three, I played against... God, what was my round three matchup? And it's not important. It's not rememberable. It didn't strike out to me, so I'm just going to
blacked it out with the horror that you faced in round four.
Yeah, so round four is probably where it about killed me. Going to, this is for top four to get points. Sit down. I'm playing against Kibble and Bits. Dead drawn. Just straight dead drawn. And my first deck search was on about like turn 5 or 6. So I go through, look there, and realize all three of my Charizards are in my prize cards. Can't do anything. Because at that point, I just pivot to Lost Box, but it's so many turns in, he's got 2 prize cards left. Yeah. I can't do anything. Yeah. So I scooped, and I unfortunately did not make top. So.
I believe the words you used for me at the time were, I think it's a sign.
Yeah, I do think it's a sign. I think it's a sign that I need to switch a few things up. Maybe go back to Tina. I know it's doing hot. Not for certain yet, though.
Okay. And then, so that was Saturday night. Sunday, there was a league challenge at Wizards Asylum. That's here in Tulsa. It's kind of our sister store almost. But anyway, Nate and I were both there.
I worked that.
Yeah. Connor was working, earning the monies. But anyway, so at that challenge, how did you ended up in a top 4 spot, right, Nate?
I did. I went X and 1.
Okay. So do you remember, were you in 3rd? Am I remembering that right?
I got 4th.
You were 4th, okay. I mean, 3rd and 4th is basically the same thing. But,
I mean, I was hoping to get, maybe a 2nd place finish, because the 2nd place through all the way to 5th had the same record.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I don't have all my 2nd place finishes. I just got 4th.
That's I'm sorry. So your only loss was to Rapid Strike, and I know that was a pretty close match.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you face over the course of the day? Do you remember?
I remember going against Palkia.
Okay.
I remember going against Fusion Mew.
Okay. Which you were playing Azul's Zard list, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that Fusion Mew is a pretty easy matchup there.
I'm trying to think of the last one. Okay, I can't think of it.
Both of you forgetting one of your matches. I'd make comments, but I'll restrain myself. So I'm burying the lead here because I actually won at Wizards, which was fun. So as Nate said, 2nd through 5th were all 3-1. I went 4-0. I was piloting.
I remember my round 3.
Well, we've moved on. Sorry, Connor.
I went against Lost Box. I remember now.
Okay, Nate played against Lost Box and won with Azulzard.
I played against Azulzard.
Oh, okay.
And, almost lost.
But not quite, because you did win.
Not quite, no. He missed the Defiance Man.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, back to me. So, I was playing actually I've been kind of delving into Roaring Moon decks specifically to try to figure out stuff that works so that I can put together some videos on it. So shameless plug, go check out other videos on the channel. I've got some how to play Roaring Moon EX decks, but you might want to wait because the actual list that I played is not the list that I cover in the how to play video. I'm going to do another follow-up video featuring the list that I actually played, because I'm all doing my video and like, here's how you play Roaring Moon in 2024. And I'm going off of the list that got second place in Kyoto. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. But it's like a Darkrai V-Star 1 online that uses cross Steevers to get back supporters and Pokemon and stuff. And it's like crazy and it works really well and it's consistent. And I loved it. But then Azul had his eye on Roaring Moon. And as we all know, Azul is one of the best players in the world. And he was just like, hold my beer, I can make this better. And folks, he did. He decided that not only is the energy switch with Greninja a good thing, which I was kind of meh on, but then he added some more energies and added a Thornton and added an Iron Hands EX. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you can sort of power up Iron Hands EX when you need to as well in this Roaring Moon deck. And boy, oh boy, when you can, out of nowhere, playing Roaring Moon, drop Iron Hands into the mix against unsuspecting opponents, things get fun. Nate was actually watching as I took 3 prizes from out of nowhere on a Screamtail.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, we're going to use 3 different copies, like three copies of, it was late game, and I was able to use 3 copies of Energy Switch all in the same turn to go from nothing to a powered up Iron Hands EX in the active. I had 3 prizes. My opponent couldn't get anything else going. I'll actually have a video of this whole tournament later on the channel, but I've got lots of videos that I'm working on, so I don't know exactly when. It'll be within the next week or two. But that's sort of how like every game went. Either I was able to get a surprise Iron Hands off that just like crippled my opponent, or I was just able to use the base Turbo Roaring Moon platform to just like cripple them before they could even get set up. And I remember multiple opponents were complaining like, well, I only got blah, blah, blah set up, and then he just like walked over it and I didn't have anything going. And I'm like, yeah, that's what turbo decks do. That's the whole point. It's not that you were unlucky. It's that my deck did what it's designed to do. And yeah, so it went well. So round 1, I was facing Guardy. There's actually the matchup I was just talking about with the Screamtail. And the deck didn't perform as well as I had hoped. I tried to go for a Greninja play to just like completely wipe them out of the game, and I didn't pull it off. Usually it's about 50-50, but I didn't get there. And that hurt a little bit, but I still like walked all over them after that. And then once they thought they were making a comeback with the Screamtail play to try to stall me with a non-powered up Pokemon there at the end, like that was when it just like popped off even more. And yeah, good things. Round 2 was against Turbo Lost Box, and they didn't turbo, but I did. And round 3 was against Golden Go, which is a super easy matchup as long as I get the first knockout, or I guess the first 2 prize knockout. But yeah, I did. Like something has to go wrong for you to lose that. And then round 4, I was against Rapid Strike, the same Rapid Strike that had beat Nate. And this seems to be a common occurrence where Nate will play a deck and lose to it, and then I end up playing it the next round, and then I beat it. This has happened in the last couple challenges at Wizards, so I don't know what their computer system is doing, but I guess it's working out for me at least. But it wasn't so much a game as it was he comes in knowing that he's against Roaring Moon, and is a little bit, he was in a happy place overall, but expecting the match to go poorly for him. And then I look down at my hand and I just say to him, this is the best opening hand I've had all day. I have in my hand an S-Ball and 2 Battle VIP passes. And I believe I even had an Earthen Vessel to get some energy in the discard too. So I play the 2 Battle VIP passes, and he had started a lone Inteleon. He just scooped. Like, I didn't even get to search out one Pokemon. He was just like, nope, this is not working. So fastest game I've literally ever played.
He could have maybe like whiffed the Sada. I don't know why he would scoop there, honestly.
No, the matchup against Roaring Moon there, he had me going first because he was hoping that I would whiff something and not get set up. Once Roaring Moon is set up, Rapid Strike is done. So that pretty much sums up the tournaments we played and what we did this weekend, I think. But I do want to throw one more thing out there, another shameless plug. On top of all the watch my videos stuff, I also want to say someone contacted me from one of those videos, one of my cloth videos. And the long and short of it is they've been looking for a coach who knows how cloth works because they want to take cloth to the juniors regionals in Charlotte and Knoxville. So I've got a new student that came to me from my videos. And for that reason, I'm going to say, if you're out there watching this and you're looking for someone to coach you on really almost any deck, there are a few that I'd probably shy away from. I don't want to do any Guardy coaching, but Nate might. But yeah, just leave a comment and we'll get you hooked up with somebody that can cover the exact deck you want to work on. Because we've got resources. We have people that know like every deck ultimately. I'll probably try to take the lion's share of the coaching gigs if I can cover the deck that you want coaching on. But I've had plenty of experience. I'm coaching two juniors right now. And I also coached both of these guys. And they both qualified for Worlds in the year that I was coaching them. I'm just saying.
Just throw that one out there, you know?
But with that, we're going to move on and talk about Portland. So first things first, the Portland finals. Tina versus Tina. Who saw that coming?
I did not at all. Still, I think Tina is a inconsistent pile. But, you know, it had the greatest matchups going into this event, so I'm not surprised.
I don't know if I can even say that it's an inconsistent pile, given the conversion rate, because Tina's conversion rate was insane. So, just to let you guys know, the overall conversion rate for like an average, just randomly selected player was 10.13%. So basically 10% of the people playing in day one ended up making day two. The only deck that was really, really high above that was Tina at 18.25%. Not quite, but very close to like approaching double the conversion rate of the average player on day one. If you were playing Tina, you were almost twice as likely to make day two as if you were playing any other deck. The others that did better than average are Mew VMAX, and we don't know how much better because we don't know how many Mews there were in day one. But we know that it was under the percentage of decks for the least played deck that made the top 6. And from that, I was able to calculate at least 12.5% of Mew VMAX players made day two. It could have been higher. I mean, maybe 100%. I don't know for sure. There's room for it to be higher. It just depends on how many people actually played Mew VMAX. And then actually, Roaring Moon had a conversion rate that was at least equal to, and there's room for it to have been much higher than, the number of people who converted overall. It was at least equal to 10%, but it might have been as high as like 20% of the people playing Roaring Moon that converted. So I found that very interesting. But the most interesting thing about it, I think, is you said Tina's a pile, and it's inconsistent. And yet, almost twice as many Tina players made day two as anything else. Following up with that, Charizard made day two, but just an average amount. Just about 10% of Charizard players made it. About 10% of Guardy players made it. Probably some of those Guardy players bumped down the number of Charizard players making it. About 11.5% of Lost Zone box players, taken as a group, grouping all the Lost Zone box decks together. So a little bit more than average, but pretty close to those average numbers. The decks that didn't perform, oh Nelly. Rapid Strike actually did really bad. Less than half of the expected number of players playing Rapid Strike converted. It was just over 5% made it to day two. But Miraidon was so much worse. There were more Miraidon players playing. There were 155 Miraidon players in day one. And in day two, there were not even 10 players that made it. I think it was like 6 or 7. One of those was Nicholas Moffat, and he made it all the way to top 8. So good on him. I've tested that list. It's a good list. I'm going to cover it in a future video. But yeah, Miraidon overall, not really doing it this time.
It might be because of the Charizard and the Tina matchup, but with the new inclusion of Taco Coco, that's probably giving them an edge in that matchup for both.
So yeah, I will say Moffat played Coco in his list, that did well. A couple other of the lists that I glanced at from day 2 also played Coco. So yes, I think Coco was a great tech to bring into the Charizard-based field, and I think you're right. The amount of Charizard that was there, because it was the most played deck on day 1, and the amount that was there definitely hurt Miraidon a lot. Tina's not a great matchup either, especially with all the Roxanning and the pathing and everything. They can hurt you before you're even set up. But yeah, I think that was a good tech for those who played it and who had practiced the matchup well enough. And I think a lot of people just kind of hoped to dodge, and they're probably the ones that that underperformed and didn't convert very well. But yeah, so basically I would say if you're playing Miraidon, play Tapu Koko for sure. But also just look at Nicholas Moffat's list and test it out, because there was a lot of good stuff. Other than that, I think there's a few noteworthy tech cards that were great this weekend and actually probably had a hand in keeping Charizard down a little bit. So in Moon, Iron starting to get played. We talked about that with my list. I'm sorry, with Azul's list that I've copied 100%. And that can set you up to then start the prize trade early. And since you can keep pace and just always knock them out, Moon wins that way. So that's a great tech there. And then in Guardy, Deoxys V-Star, which Nate talked about last week, is great. Because it can OHKO a Charizard like nothing. It can OHKO Iron Hands even better, making the Miraidon matchup for Guardy not as bad as it used to be. And then the last thing that I saw was the TM De-Evolution getting played everywhere and successfully.
Team De-Evolution being played in Charizard now is a new tech card for its bad matchups.
And the mirror. I mean, so, go on, Nate.
You're correct. The mirror as well. Whenever you chase down Pidgeots, instead you can hit into Charizards and feel okay about it. Because the Charizard mirror is whoever chases down Pidgeots first. And, ruin consistency. Now it's just, okay, I hit into your Charizard, get into mine, I hit into another Charizard. Then you hit all the individual Charizards and use TM. Then they all get devolved and they get discarded.
So, I half agree with that. I would caveat that you don't even have to take it that far for it to give you a major edge. Even with no damage on them, if they've evolved 3, even 2, if they've evolved a Pidgey into Pidgeot and 2 Charizards into, 2 Charmanders into Charizard with Rare Candy, you Devo, and then they're done. Because they only have 1 Rare Candy left. I've actually, one of my students is going to be playing some Mew going forward. He's been on Mew, and he's going back to it because we've actually seen sticking a couple of De-Evolution TMs into that matchup, and Mew can solidly beat Charizard. If they happen to get unlucky and prize a candy or 2, you can beat them before anything even happens. And we've talked about some interesting plays with Turo and stuff where you remove VMAX is out of play so they can't take big prizes, and you're just haha, my one prizer is going to Devo you, and now you're just out of resources. But it works like that in lots of decks. Any deck can take advantage of that to really deprive Charizard of some of its power. And Guardy as well. Guardy is less dependent on Rare Candy with the way that most have been playing it, but you can still send them back quite a bit if they happen to have had to go the Rare Candy. And you can also do the damage thing that Nate was talking about. But Devo isn't only good in decks that spread damage around or hit a few places and then devolve to get knockouts. It's also good just as a resource, consumption card to run your opponent out of the game that way.
It's a really good card. Another play, I was when you brought up the Mew with TMD Evolution, you play you get Psychic Leap into a Genesect with an Oricorio in play. Charizard cannot knock out, the Genesect, not even with Vitality Band. Or he could also just Glistening the Droplets. Just place damage everywhere, then use TMD Evolution.
I think that's probably too slow. I think you're probably better trying to do some Ice Cube play before TM Evolution if you're trying to get knockouts with it.
I mean, Charizard does have Bench Barrier. It's kind of tough.
Well, okay, it depends. I guess it depends on which way they're going, because they also play Jirachi, which would prevent Glistening Droplets. So
that is true.
I guess it depends entirely on your route, what's available and what's not. But yeah, any of that can work out for sure. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting, mostly in the way that it was featured on the Portland stream, is that we got a real glimpse into competitive players honoring gentlemen's agreements much more than any stream I've seen. I think there were 2 or 3 separate instances where players would have tied, but they had agreed to a gentleman's agreement, and so the match was not actually a tied result. So, Nate, can you explain what a gentleman's agreement is to our listener?
So, a gentleman's agreement is basically where both players want a different conflict, because if they're both not going to continue in the event, they're going to agree and, have a winner. Some people like to do maybe like who's ahead on prize cards, like who's taking more prize cards. Some people do board state, like, who has the next knockout. Like in round 9, I think, when Nazul was on stream, they had one. It was Gardevoir versus Charizard. Going into Gardevoir, it was like turn 4, so like the game was over. So the Gardevoir player actually drew it to 3 rare candies. All they needed was the Psychic Energy, but then as of that, Azul won that game because Deoxys needed 1 more Psychic Energy.
Yep. So yeah, it's situations where both players kind of agree that getting a tie is bad for both. So they say, you know what, even though this is Swiss rounds, we're going to agree with each other. There's going to be a winner to this game. And if we hit time and run out, it's going to be based on some other factors that we'll agree upon. Like, the only thing you can't do with that, you cannot use some kind of random decider. You can't be like, oh, if we go to time and we run out of time and turns, we'll flip a coin. That is not acceptable. That'll get you both disqualified from the event. But if you go off of who's taking the most prize cards, or if you go off of whose board state is going to give them the win, or is more likely to give them a win, that's a little bit more hairy because you have to sort of have a way to prove it. But either of those, and you could have other reasonings that you've discussed outside of that too. But you can't really have a prolonged discussion about it at the table. You sort of need to talk about it before the match starts. Yeah. But it's definitely a way to like avoid getting a whole bunch of ties that prevents anybody involved from getting a top play.
Yeah, like in their case, they needed an extra match, 3 match points to make day 2, and some players even do this for like top 8.
That was another of the places that I saw it this weekend on stream was players wanting to stay in contention for top 8. We're doing gentlemen's agreements as well. So I think we're going to see more and more of that as we see these events get bigger and bigger, because your record has to be so much better than it used to be. Like, it used to be 32 points would get you to top 8. Now we're to the point that it's like 35, maybe even 36 points is required. And that's going to make it so that these tie situations are like, both players are going to want to just have it resolved one way or the other more often than it used to be. Now with that, I think we're done talking about Portland. We're going to wait until next week to talk about Knoxville, but we're going to do the fun thing that Connor and I did. All 3 of us are going to have some predictions for what we think is going to do well, and all that. We'll play another round of who knows the future best. And by the way, Connor, you owe Nate and I both a cookie at some point.
Huh?
Nate won the challenge for who was going to... Nate won the Who's That Pokemon last month. So you owe him a cookie. And you owe me a cookie because I did better on the predictions.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, indeed. All right. Well, we'll all 3 have to go out and get cookies sometime.
Yeah, and you're buying.
Yeah, I know. Calm down. Yeah. Hopefully once this cold's gone. But yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go get cookies.
Yeah, I don't want a cookie that makes me sick.
That's no fun.
That's a bad cookie. All right.
The Corona cookie. We don't want it.
Yeah, no COVID cookies, please.
Please no.
All right. So last thing before we get to Same 60 Fun Time, there are a number of cards that got revealed. The Pokemon are kind of okay. The energy card is kind of okay. It's all about preventing bench damage or status conditions or extra effects of attacks.
You're talking about the new special energy?
Right, the special energy that prevents effects of attacks, or you've got the Rabaska that acts basically as a replacement for both Manaphy and Jirachi, but you have to evolve to get it. They're decent cards, but I don't want to delve into them too much. I do want to talk about the 2 cards that I think are a little hot. Nate actually brought one of them to our attention right before we started the podcast, so I'll let Nate go on that one.
Okay, so those are revealed this morning about a new A-Spec. And that A-Spec is called Hero's Cape. It's coming in the 5th set. It basically does what Luxurious Cape does, but you can only play 1, and it does not have the factor of your opponent taking an extra prize. So basically, it just says, your Pokemon have 100 more HP. I can see this being played in like Guardy for like the Screamtail.
Definitely. Also, I know we don't have the final wording on it, but from what we can tell, I don't think it's restricted to non-rule box Pokemon. So you could have a 430 HP Charizard if you wanted.
Oh yeah, but is that better than Guzma?
See, and that's the question. Guzma is an item, or 400 plus HP on my attackers. I don't know, honestly. I think there are going to be decks that go either way.
Because my problem with this cape, right? It can easily be Lost Vacuumed, because Lost Vacuum, it's not rotating, and it's still heavily played.
That's true, but your opponent has to be able to get to it, and they have to not need to Lost Vacuum something else. So maybe it's not a Charizard card, but maybe it's a Tina card where you've already got Path out there that your opponent's going to need to Lost Vacuum away.
I think Path is rotating.
Yeah, it is.
Ah, well.
You almost had me for a second. I was like, oh, he's got the spice. 380 HP, Star Requiem.
Yeah.
You almost had me.
I don't know. We'll have to see when we see all the cards that we actually end up getting.
Because we have, 4 Ace-Specs? 3? We have 3, right?
4. You're forgetting both of the stupid ones.
Master Ball, Guzma, the Cape.
The energy.
And
double rainbow.
Oh,
double rainbow across the sky.
Yeah, that's right. Reading Rainbow.
The other card is Friend Poffin. Do you want to talk about this, Connor, or should I?
I don't even know about this one. I only knew about the Ace-Spec.
Okay, so Friend Poffin is an item card. And it says that you can get 2 Pokemon. We're pretty sure that it's restricted to basic, but there's been some back and forth on it. But what we're going to say for now, 2 basic Pokemon under 70 HP into your hand, I think.
Hand or bench.
Yeah, we're okay. So that's a point of contention we're not sure on. It will matter, but there's no restriction about when you play it. So Battle VIP Pass is rotating, but decks that want to set up a bunch of evolving basic can just swap this in instead. We're all hunky-dory. So Lost Zone, 100% they're going to do this. This is how they get their copies. Won't get you Cramorant, won't get you Radiant Greninja. Guardy, anybody that wants to play Battle VIP would be playing this instead. 100%. Even if Battle VIP stayed, I think they play this instead. But, because you can use it after turn 1. But
I was thinking, funny play, you could also grab Ditto off with a Poffin, and that could turn into, Radiant Greninja, or...
This is true. That could actually be pretty spicy.
That is true.
Now that you've said that, I'm going to be thinking about it when I start building some decks in the next... That's nice. I like that. Ditto's going to be popping now. All right. Cool. But yeah, so Poffin's going to be a good replacement for Battle VIP for decks that aren't playing big basics. The two prize.
So Maridon.
No Poffin and... Well, maybe Poffin and Maridon.
No, because Mareep's rotating.
Oh, yeah. I keep trying, and you keep punching me and kicking me while I'm down.
I set you up for failure. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm setting myself up for failure. I'll admit it.
I mean, you can grab Ditto to get Maridon.
Could, but again, that's some sill. That's full of silly. All right. So yeah, look forward to those cards. They will make deck building fun in the next format. But enough about all that. It's time for Same 60 Fun Time. And that means that our winner from last week, Mr. Nate, and I are going to be battling to guess some height and weights of Pokemon. Bear with me as I enter in this code card.
I'm just here.
And by the way, while I enter this in, one of you guys will get to enter in a code card yourself. No, Nate, no, Connor, don't steal it. This goes to one of our viewers. I can't see it
if I could.
Well, they can see it on my screen because...
See half of the QR code. That's unfortunate.
Well, they got to see the whole thing on my screen. So somebody gets that. And now I'm going to type this code in to generate the pack that Nate and I will battle over.
You don't want to do 2 packs, so we have 12 cards, or
No, not this time. The playoffs.
Playoffs will be 2 packs. I'm out of contestant.
No, you're not. If I totally bomb, then you could still get in there.
Yeah, it'd be Connor and Jeffrey next week, right?
Right. Once again, this is a Paradox Rift booster pack that we are now opening. Okay. So the Pokemon is Panseer. I glanced just to see the name. Nate, let me flip a coin, flip a die. Let's see who's going to go first. Do you want heads or tails?
Let's do tails. Tails never fails.
All right. It was tails. Do you want to go first or second?
I've been playing a lot of Arvin decks, so I'm going to go second.
Okay. All right. So Panseer. And I've got to guess the height or the weight before Nate goes. I'm going to say Panseer is 3.5 feet tall. Nate,
Okay.
how tall do you think Panseer is?
So Panseer is the pre-evolution of Pansage, I think.
Oh.
I'm gonna
Pansage is the grass type.
Oh, yeah, pre-evolution of Simisear, sorry.
Yeah.
I want to say it's 1'1".
1'1". Okay. Okay. Not looking. I gotta just collect all. Squint my eyes so that I don't see any of the other Pokemon as I try to click on the red one. Okay. Whew. All right. How tall did you say? 1 foot?
Yeah, I said 1'1".
Okay. It's 2 feet tall. So you get a point there. Connor, you're the official scorekeeper, okay?
1 point, Nate.
All right. Nate,
0 points, Jeffrey.
how much do you think this 2 foot tall fire monkey weighs?
My turn. Let's say, I want to say 16 pounds.
I'm going to make this a little bit easy. I'm going to say 17 pounds. Actual weight is 24.3 pounds. I was going to say 30 if I had gone first. It's closer. But, yeah, with my little cheap shot, I do tie it up.
1-1.
All right. We'll go to the left. And I'm not going to look. Connor, what is the Pokemon?
Your Pokemon to guess is Nimble from Scarlet and Violet.
Okay. And Nate guesses the height first.
Nate, please
Okay.
guess the height of Nimble.
I'm going to say 0.6 inches tall.
0.6. Okay.
Like
So
like
half-
6 inches tall. Like 0 feet.
Oh,
to 6
tall,
inches.
tall. Okay.
Wait, are you saying 6 inches tall or?
Yes.
No, 0.6. Not even
I'm
an
saying-
inch tall.
I'm saying it's 0 feet and 6 inches tall.
Yeah. What you said is not what you meant, but we'll go with what you meant now that you clarified. I'm going to say 10 inches.
All right.
Can you
It
read
is. I cannot.
Okay.
Which-
I'm going to have my hand in the way and slowly reveal that the grasshopper Pokemon is 8 inches tall. So we're tied on that one. So no point, I guess.
Oh, tiebreaker. Height's worth double. Or not height. Weight's worth double.
All right. And do I go first now, or does Nate go first again?
Who was the last one to guess?
I was the last one to guess.
You were the last one to guess. It
So
was
it's my-
tie. It was 0.6 and 0.7, right?
It was
So point.
Nate guessed 6 inches. I guessed 10 inches, and the answer was 8. So we're tied there.
Yeah. So next point's worth double. Nate went first. You just guess. I'm gonna say it goes back to Nate.
Okay. So the weight I'm gonna have to say is let's do I know it's I'm gonna say 1 pound.
Pound. Jeffrey.
Is it? Oh, I want to be cheap.
I won't flame you for it. The comments will.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I can get flamed. Nate can be cheap next round if he wants. I'm going to say 1.1 pounds.
What's the pounds?
It's actually 2.2.
Oh, what?
I wanted, if I was actually trying to guess it, I was going to go 1.5, but I was like, there's a chance it's like 1.3 or something, and I don't want to tie or.
1 point Nate, 3 point Jeffrey.
Not looking.
What's up, Bubs?
What is the Pokemon, Connor?
The new Pokemon is Whitney's favorite one, Miltank.
Tank. All right. And I've got to go first,
Miltank.
now, right?
Correct.
Or
Yes.
is it? Okay.
Great. No? Yes?
Nate, do you
You
want me to
won.
go or do you want to go?
Sure, I'll go. Miltank is my spirit animal, anyways.
All right. After this, I
Um,
go first next time for sure. We got it all
I
like
wanna say-
mixed.
I want to say Miltank is 3 feet 1.
3'1".
3 feet 1 inch from Nate.
I'm not going to be cheap about this. I think it's over 3 feet. I'm just going flat 4 feet.
4 feet. That's crazy.
And the answer is 3'11".
Ooh.
I almost nailed it.
So who was closest?
I was off by 1 inch. Nate was off by 10.
Oh, I thought you said
All right.
3 foot 11.
Yeah, 3'11".
4.
I said 4 foot. That's 3'12".
Oh, sorry.
Instead of it being 3 foot 12, it just gets moved over.
Yeah. So I was off by 1 inch. You were off by 10.
You get rounded up because every 12 inches is a foot. So,
Yeah.
in
All
fact, 4-1.
And now I've got to go with the weight. I think this basically 4 foot tall cow is pretty chunky. I'm gonna go 130.
130 from Jeffrey. Nate,
I'm going to go with 160.
160.
160.
Nate almost nailed that. 166.4.
Wow. 2-4. Still anyone's game.
All right. Now we've got to go the other way on the pack because we got to. For some reason, it didn't order it in the order it was showing them. But okay. So
I'll be all right.
after Panseer, we have.
Zeb Strika.
Okay. And I'm going first for the height this time.
Right.
Okay.
Zebstrika, it's the stage 1. You know what? 4 foot worked for me last time. I'm going to say 4 foot for this too.
4 foot. Okay. Nate.
All right, I'm gonna be cheap with this. I'm gonna say 4.5.
As in 4.5
Nate's
feet
closest.
or 4
Yeah,
foot?
4.5 feet. 4.5 feet.
Okay. It was 5,
5,
3.
3. So Nate is closest.
So Nate's at 3 and I'm at 4. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Nate.
Jeffrey's amount of points on this hand, and then Nate.
Nate, what do you think it weighs?
I think it weighs 90 pounds.
Okay.
5-foot horse weighs 90 pounds? Dude, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm going to go 1 1/4, 125.
125 and versus 90 pounds.
Yes.
Final answer is I cannot tell if that's a 7 or a 2.
It's a 7.
That's a 7. It's
175
175.
pounds. I was even low.
So that brings the new total to 5 and 3.
All right, we've got at least one Pokemon left. Looks like Toxel. I blocked out everything but the name, but I didn't see the name. So it's Toxel. And I think it's your turn, Nate, to go first.
I'm gonna say Toxel's 1 foot tall.
1 foot. All right, good guess.
I'm going to guess 10
I
inches.
feel like Steve Harvey. 10 inches. All right, it is
Ooh,
3'4".
No, that's a 1.
Right.
It's 1'4".
Oh, that's 1.
Well, that's
Oh.
Nate's point. And then I've
Who's
got to
to
go
come back?
weight. 1'4".
5 to 4. Still anyone's game.
I'm going to go 25 pounds.
I'm gonna say 30 pounds.
24.3.
Dang.
I
that was
That
a
brings
good
Jeffrey's points up to 6. Nate at 4. Do we
think-
have one more card?
I think so. Oh, nope. It's just a
Oh,
full art Professor Torres
no.
scenario.
Hold on, Nate. What's your points? 4, right?
I mean,
How
I
about
lost.
something new?
No, we go off of the packs that are generated. You can't change the game because you want Nate to come back.
No, I was gonna say if you all want, I can Google it and then we can guess.
No. We do that next time. Not that, but this. But it's you versus me next time. Right now, Nate has 1 win, and I have 1 win.
And so if I win next week, we're all even on the
And
scoreboard.
we all play for the finals.
I will now study into Pokemon Hide and Wait because of you two. You're welcome.
By the way, is something... I guess we can decide next week, but we'll have to decide if there's like another cookie on the line or something.
Ooh, an incentive.
Anyway, with that, we'll go ahead and finish up for the week. Clearly, this is fun time for Connor because he wanted to do some more. But I'm going to say thank you guys for listening out there. We appreciate it. Just you listening, just you tuning in, just you watching the videos is awesome. But if you want to help us more, you can subscribe. And with that, I'm Jeffrey, JGB 146 Blake.
And I am Nate, Sky Circus TCG.
I'm Connor, an average card game.